been doing push-ups. I've been doing sit-ups. I've been doing chin-ups. I've been doing pull-ups. I threw up once, but I'm okay now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Monday edition of the Ysn Powr Hour, back from the beautiful studios here in the world headquarters of Your Sports Network in East Palestine, Ohio. My name is DJ Yoakley, and I am super happy that you were able to join us today for this show. We got a lot to talk about, including this day in sports history we're going to get to in just a minute. We're going to talk about the importance of sports. We're going to talk about why it's so important to involve not only your kids, but to stay involved as a parent in the extracurriculars that we know as sports and sporting events and things of that nature, and so much more on the show. Flying solo today, so we'll be taking your comments, whatever you want to talk about. We're happy to make the shift and call the Omaha right in the middle of the show. So without further ado, it is time for On This Day in Sports History. Let's go. On this day in sports history, in 1898, the second Boston Marathon was won by Canadian Ron McDonald in a race record 2 hours and 42 minutes. So how does Ronald McDonald win the Boston Marathon, the second ever Boston Marathon, and go on to have so much damn success in the world of fast food? That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. Ronald McDonald wins the second Boston Marathon. The reason why this is important, no jokes, is today was obviously the first time the Boston Marathon has been run in 3 years, I believe. And, I have so much respect and admiration for those that run in marathons, because you will never, unless there is a junkyard dog behind me, never catch me running in a marathon. You'll catch me running around the park, like the straights, but I'm not running 26 miles. I'm not running 13 miles. I'm barely running 1 mile. These little legs don't go that far. I'd much rather drive 26 miles than run it. But today, Kenyan runner Evans Chevette wins the 2022 Boston Marathon in the race's return to Patriots Day. And happy Patriots Day to all of you out there. And naturally, people want to talk about, American sports and why they're so important. Well, the Boston Marathon is absolutely bound in the fabric of our country. There's been so much history, so much tragedy, and so much triumph through that race that it's hard not to be able to kind of point to that and say that throughout all the years, especially when Americans win it, it means so much to this country to be able to do it. And, a few years ago, there was the bombing and the terrorism at the Boston Marathon. And then, of course, COVID happened and people were not able to run in packs or run in groups. And now you've got today, the Boston Marathon is back. I know so many people were excited for it. It really is one of the timeless, timeless great things of our country that has been created over the years in sports, and one of the peaks of competition for super athletes and for long distance runners. So congratulations to all those, and congratulations to Mr. Chevette, who won the Boston Marathon this afternoon. Probably not in the most lovely of weather conditions out there. I'm making my way. Those of you who watch the show regularly and religiously know that I was in Myrtle Beach with the South Range baseball, softball team, as well as the Salem baseball team. It was kind of an early spring break. Now we've got a slew of teams down there. Again, kind of the same area and that Ripken experience as well, taking their spring breaks and Canfield, one of those teams that you wish you could just stay down there and cover everybody. And we're going to next year. We're going to make it a point. And I think that spring break next year lines up with everybody. Like everybody's going to be on these very similar, if not same schedules next year. So Myrtle Beach is going to be fun. We're going to take a crew of YSN talent down there, and we are going to have a blast over the Easter holiday, covering all these games for you. Because, I mean, look outside. Look outside if you're in Northeast Ohio right now. It is snowing. It is snowing in the streaming capital of the world, East Palestine, Ohio. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Not for the – I don't mind snow. It means we don't get games in. It means the games are canceled. I think we have every game is canceled to this point, except for, guess who? Canfield down in Myrtle Beach. And I believe they're not getting much better weather. I'm trying to get an update from the head honcho himself, Mr. Gary Niddle, and see if they're still on. Tonight, 8 p.m. is supposed to be when first pitch is, live from the Ripken Experience down in Myrtle Beach. Such a beautiful facility down there. Every single field is kind of created after an old-timey field. It's like Ebbets Field, the Polo Grounds. There's so many other ones down there. I think it's so neat that they do that, and the same kind of distances. So you get that feel. You're not actually on that field, obviously. Most of these fields are not in existence anymore, but you're able to kind of take part in it and get some of that history of the game. So hopefully they'll be able to get the game in tonight. Seth chiming in says Columbiana is hot right now. Clips are rolling, and I'm so proud of my grandson. You should be. You should be. Very much so. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about that in the first half hour here, is how much different and how much higher the expectations are for our student athletes here, and the execution of the game of baseball and softball and how it's way different up here. Couple cool things before we get started with that. Get off the plane. So I had a connecting flight in Charlotte on the way down, and then Charlotte on the way back up. Well, the cool thing is as soon as I get off the plane, I'm flying out of Canton, Akron, and as soon as I get off the plane, I hear, "Yo, YSN!" And immediately, first off, if you're ever in a place that you're not accustomed to being in, you don't feel like you're caught off guard immediately, because you're not looking for someone to know who you are. You're literally. It happened to me at a Walmart in Myrtle Beach, even with the South Range people. I ran into the Irons family. In my head, I'm not thinking, am I going to run into anybody like I do in Chippewa? In my head, I am incognito. I'm getting what I need, and I'm getting out of there. And as soon as I get off the plane, yo, YSN. So I'm like that. He could not be talking about me. I have nothing YSN on. So I hear, yo, YSN. So I turn around. Sure enough, guy shaking me down. Wants to say hi. Says he's a huge fan. Not, pardon me, not from the Youngstown area, from Washington, D.C., and was in Charlotte on a layover and recognized me getting off the plane, which was, again, it's weird. But it was super cool. He said his nephew goes to, it was one of the local, it might be Boardman, and it was Boardman. It was Girard. I take that back. It was Girard. So his nephew goes to Girard. He watched all of the games for football, for basketball. Huge fan of what we do. And what's cool about that is we're not always, we're just so accustomed to just providing for the people here in this area. And we don't, I feel bad saying this, we don't nearly enough think of the people that are tuning in from out of the area. And I think by not doing that and by not ignoring it, but just not focusing on it, it makes it better for those people because they feel like they're home. And that's what this gentleman was trying to explain. He's like, man, I miss home like no other. When I'm down in DC, it's hard for me to keep up on some of the stuff. You get scores and you get some write-ups here and there, but you guys are doing what you do. And I'm not, trust me, I'm not here to pat ourselves on the back here. I just think it's cool when somebody acknowledges that from out of the area and they're watching their niece or nephew from, hundreds of miles away and they feel like they're home. There's an authenticity to it. And fast forward to I'm coming home and I get a connecting flight again in Charlotte. And I'm going from Myrtle Beach to Charlotte to Canton Akron. So I'm sitting in the waiting area, where they herd the cattle for the plane. And I'm wearing a Youngstown, Ohio hoodie this time from our friends over at Youngstown Clothing Company. One of my favorite hoodies, by the way, just unbelievable. Very soft, very comfortable. Perfect travel hoodie. So I have someone say, Youngstown, Ohio. Yes, sir. Well, I'm from Warren. Wow, okay. And like ghost, he was gone. Just gone. Put his 2 cents in. See you later. Another one, had a guy, stop and say, hey, Youngstown, we're from Berlin Center. I said, Western Reserve, go Blue Devils. And he said, heck yeah. And they kind of laughed a little bit and, kind of left it there. And then he came over, introduced himself, and his name's Sean Gardner. He's the head wrestling or one of the wrestling coaches over at Western Reserve, and a guy that again just talked so highly about what we do. Once I introduced myself, and he was a great guy to talk to. Great guy to talk to. And we talked about the different levels and the expectations of our area athletes. And all of this is going towards that trip to Myrtle Beach. And here's how I'm going to preface this. Some people go on their pedestal and talk about the expectations that they have for our area sports, whether it's, championship or bust, basically. Winning a district title isn't enough. Winning a regional title, being in the regional is not enough. You have to bring home that statey or else it doesn't matter, or at least be in the state championship game. I disagree on so many levels because and we've talked about this on the show before, our area beats the hell out of each other in every sport. And whether we're excellent, like we are, I would argue in football, I would argue in softball, I would argue in baseball. Are we there in basketball? We're getting there. But the physicality of our sports takes a toll on these student athletes, takes a toll on these coaches, takes a toll on the bodies of these young people. And when you go down like we did and you see the way that our teams stack up against these other teams from other states, from other counties in Ohio, and you quickly realize our sports play at a higher level in almost every sport. And I would argue it with anybody out there that when you look at our sports, look at the record of the 3 teams that we covered down in Myrtle Beach. Salem, 3-0. South Range Softball, 4-1. South Range Baseball, 4-0. Right? Was that 11-1? 11-1. That's not too shabby, folks. And that one loss was to the 20th ranked team in the entire country in Beaver, Pennsylvania, which, oh, by the way, is about, well, I would say a 9-iron, but Donnie Farron would argue that it would probably be more of a driver for me from East Palestine. My argument today, my debate, and I want to hear from you in the comments section, Do you feel that we stack up from a regional and state standpoint better than most teams around the country? Like, if there was a national championship in high school, would Ohio be a perennial powerhouse? My answer is yes. Would Pennsylvania be a perennial powerhouse? My answer is yes. And so is Eric's. The answer is yes. You look at, and this was a conversation I had with Coach Gardner. His son's in the military now. Because he's from Ohio, there's an expectation on a wrestling program. You come from Ohio or Pennsylvania, you're looked at as if, okay, I better have my you-know-what together if I'm wrestling this person. If I'm taking this person on, the expectation is the Buckeye State, Anthony Thompson says yes as well. I'm telling you, we're taking a natty. If we go, if it goes into, you win the state championship and then certain teams are allowed to compete for a national championship, which I would love. I would love that. Buckeye State's in there every year. Every year. You look at our football. Ohio, California, Florida, Texas, Pennsylvania. Look at our baseball. In this area alone, look at our baseball. Look at our softball. It is so impressive. So incredibly impressive to watch our teams. And we are so spoiled. So spoiled. I mean, you look at some of the scores in those games that our teams played. You take a team like a Columbiana baseball and you take them over a state line into West Virginia, or you take them over into, take them over to, I don't care, even North Carolina, South Carolina area. North Carolina, South Carolina, the southern states are supposed to be the ones that are lighting our asses up in baseball and softball because they can play all year round. And they do play all year round. I talked to some of the umpires down there. He was absolutely flabbergasted with how good our teams in Ohio and Pennsylvania are because we're practicing for 2 months, basically, inside a gymnasium on hardwood. It's not like everybody has facilities like the Watt Center at YSU to take live fly balls or simulated fly. I mean, we're getting better. You look at the places that are going up around the area for student athletes, like athletics in Columbiana. That place is going to be a absolute mecca of sports. But I would also argue, as good as we are now, as we continue to get better opportunities with turf fields and different facilities, how good can our teams get around this area and just continue to just thrive? I'm telling you, when you go down south, no team from the south should ever beat a team that has been in a gymnasium and has 2 practices outside under their belt. That should never happen. But it does, and it did, and it will, because our kids have work ethic, our kids have expectations, our coaches have expectations, our programs have expectations. And I'm not saying that the other schools don't down south. I'm not saying that other schools up here don't. I would argue that our schools understand championship caliber. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Championship caliber expectations, and they go after them. And they go after them like they're hunting Moby Dick with tartar sauce in their back pocket. Not one team that was down there was scared of a Southern team. There's a swagger that comes with the Buckeye State and the Keystone State. There's a swagger that comes with it. It was fun watching South Range go toe-to-toe with what I think is one of the best schools in New York. They were drubbed one of the best softball programs in the state of New York. Program called Vestal. And Vestal kept it close for a little bit. And then the floodgates opened. And you could tell that that team wasn't necessarily used to being on the other side of the scoreboard. But our girls never backed down. I'd argue this. Even from a South Range perspective, and Beaver being a school that we're probably going to sign in the very near future, Peyton List is one of the top recruited pitchers in the country. She didn't back down to South Range, but South Range sure as heck did not back down and back away from her. That was one of the most impressive softball games I've ever been a part of. And again, I said it down there, I'll say it again, barring a few errors and mental lapses, we're still playing that game because nobody was giving an inch. Nobody was giving an inch. And the state rankings came out today. Everybody got a peek at those. And I think some eyes were opened because we took some heat for the last couple of weeks about our power rankings. And all of a sudden, there's some teams on this that state top 10 that people go, oh, I guess YSN wasn't too far off on where they should be. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying. Our top 10 looks a little bit different around here because of the caliber of performers and programs that we have. Imagine that taking all those state champions or all those state rankings and putting them in a bowl and mix them around and there's no divisions. There's no anything. You got to put them in 1 through 10. That's tough. That's tough. And I would argue the excitement, because if you haven't been out or you haven't watched on YSN or you haven't been out in person to watch some of these teams, watch a West Branch. Go watch a West Branch play baseball or softball. Softball in particular this year, because they are outstanding. They don't care what we say about them. They don't care what anybody says about them. All they care about is those girls that lace up those cleats and take on whoever's in that other dugout. That's who cares. They are fun to watch. They are an offensive juggernaut. Go watch an Austintown Fitch on the baseball or softball field this spring. You talk about fun to watch. You get your popcorn ready because those young men and women will put on a show each and every night. Lights on, games on. Fitch might not, looking outside, Fitch might not play an away game this year. And they're okay with that because they're getting the games in. And that's the most important part. I know the Fitch girls down in Myrtle Beach, I believe they're in Myrtle Beach now. So they are going to showcase. I hope they get some good competition. Because what I'm starting to see is guys like Jeff DeRose of the South Range Raiders picks up phones, says to the tournament director, I want your best. Well, the best is the guy on the other side of that phone. And the guy in Beaver, in Vestal. And if you're going to beat the best 8-1, I think by default, you become the best. And I would argue Beaver and South Range were the two best teams down there for softball at that particular time. Now, next year is going to be interesting. Next year, I want to see all the YSN teams. We'll put it all together. We'll market it like you wouldn't believe. The Clash on the Coast. And all these YSN teams. And I would put, and I know you can't bet on high school sports, but I would put a ton of Skittles that our teams are there at the end. Our teams have the winning records. I would argue if you took our Ohio football over a couple of states, if you took it to Tennessee, if you took it, name any school, or name any state rather, I would argue we clean house. That's how good our football, not just from a physicality standpoint, but from an X's and O's, from an execution standpoint. Our sports stand apart from every other state on the map. Texas, come get some. Florida, come get some. Because if we can beat you in baseball and softball, it might take a minute, but we are going to beat you silly in a game that was created here in the Buckeye State. Trey says, Texas? What does Texas have that we don't have? Again, football, we're not going to beat them the first time. But it's going to be close. And I would argue within the first 10 years, we take the lead in that series. If we get one game a year, I bet by the end of 10 years, it's 6-4 Ohio. Cody Murray chiming in. Great work, Tree. Keep it up. Great info. My buddy Cody from the EP, Stream City, USA. Let's check this out from Diane. She says, would love to see a local tournament for the schools that doesn't have a full week spring break. Unfortunately, that will require Mother Nature cooperating. Diane, you could not be more on the dot. This has been probably the most challenging year in spring sports that I can remember. And you know, now it's not snowing. And it's supposed to be 80 degrees on Friday and Saturday. Well, if our fields ever thaw out or dry up, we might be able to get games in. But now we're dealing with colder temperatures. When that temperature warms up, what do you get? You get snow. Or you get rain. Even worse. I would argue that rain is worse than snow when it comes to getting sports in the spring. That's my argument. All right. More comments here. Mike says that Division III baseball tournament is going to be crazy. Yes. Yes. Hands down. Division II. Division II, get ready. Look at Division II. You got Hoban, you got Salem, you got Canfield right there. Those are the 3 out of the 4 teams that were in the regional finals or regional state, regional. What am I looking for here? Regional semis is what I'm looking for. Sorry, it took me so long to get it out. You look at that. That's anybody's game at this point. Salem, I told you. Salem was going to turn it around. Trust me when I say that they turned it around. If you haven't tuned in to a YSN Salem game with Derek Rhodes, Chad Rhodes on the call, and they get awesome information. Watch the Quakers. Watch them. I'm telling you. They're going to be there. Everybody's naysaying, they miss this guy. They don't have this, and they don't have this. And they had that chemistry last year. They did. But what builds chemistry faster than adversity? Nothing. Nothing. When your back's against the wall and you find out who is with you and who isn't, things shore up real fast. Salem's going to be there. Louisville is another team. Keep an eye on the Leopards. They're going to be there. I really think so. I really, really think so. And then, of course, there's that other team that everybody talks about, the Canfield Cardinals. The Redbirds will be there. They're taking on, Gary Niddle told me straight up, he doesn't think that they will have any less than, I forget what he said. I think it was 5 or 7 losses. Erie Cathedral Prep. That was one of the tough games on their schedule. Absolutely one of the top ranked programs in the Keystone State. Salem throttled them. 12-1? Or I'm sorry, Canfield throttled them. I'm still on Salem. I looked at the note here. My apologies. Canfield throttled them 12-1. You have a Canfield team that hasn't even started to hit the accelerator yet. They haven't meshed. Like, they're not there yet. Another team that you're just waiting for them to, because how dangerous is that team going to be? You got a lefty throwing 94, 6'5". He's a monster. Beidelshees is a name that should be a household name right now. Going to The Ohio State University, joining so many other talented kids from this area down there. And then, oh, by the way, you've got Ryan Petra, the gas man, flamethrower, uncommitted to this point, taking his time on his choice. Love this kid. He's got charisma. He's got just a work ethic like you wouldn't believe. This kid will go 100 innings if you let him. Never wants out of the ball game. Always wants the pearl. Then you look at that offense. Nate Shaw, Wright State. AJ Havrilla, Ohio State. Oh, by the way, only a junior. Your leadoff guy, Josh Giuliano, Double J. Right? One of the best leadoff hitters in the entire country last year. Country. Not state, not area, country. Look it up. Stats. So much talent up and down that roster. Michael Patelis, who I think is one of the best receivers in the entire area, and he's only a sophomore. Think about that. Think about the glass ceiling that is going to shatter at some point this season whenever Canfield gets it figured out. I mean, so many teams in this area. So many teams in this area. And that's baseball. We talk about softball. Track? Now, are you kidding me with track? We have some of the fastest, strongest individuals in the state. And it's not close. It's not close. So somebody out there thought I was going to shortchange track. I guarantee it. That's not going to happen. Not going to happen. I got to go to a track meet, and I was amazed with how quickly these kids turn it from basketball to track and field. But they're constant. I mean, these kids are constantly doing something nowadays. So it's not that much of a ramp up. It's just kind of an extension of who they've been this entire time. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, still more to talk about. We're going to talk about the influence and the reason that sports are so important, just so important here from a childhood standpoint, from just a standpoint of us. And, you know, a special announcement as well, because it's we're nearing our 2-year anniversary with the Ysn Powr Hour, which will be on Wednesday. Officially, we launched on April 20th of 2020. So Wednesday will be the 2nd year anniversary of the Ysn Powr Hour. And on Friday, even more special, it's the 500th episode of the Ysn Powr. 500. 500. Never thought I would see this. After the first show, I'm not going to lie to you, and I'll tell you this after the break, didn't think we were going to make it. Did not think that we had a chance in the heavens of making it 50 episodes. Maybe the first week, I started questioning myself, like, what are we doing here? But it's caught on. You love it. We love bringing it to you. And it's evolved continuously over 2 years. So we'll talk about that and why sports is so important. We come back on the Ysn Powr Hour, brought to you by these great sponsors.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
And welcome back to the Ysn Powr Hour. DJ Oakley with you. Let's catch up on some of the comments here. Amo chiming in says, "Oh, no doubt, DJ. Play one game off for the next 3. It's hard to get a rhythm." And then he also says, "Big Salem fan." All right here. Amo is many of you would know, huge advocate for local sports here. Oftentimes when we get the panel discussions on this show, which we're going to get back to, at some point, getting those in once or twice a week. Amo brings so much to the table with that stuff because he knows these kids, especially out in the West Branch / Sebring / Salem / Marlington area. Just a great advocate, knows his stuff up and down. So happy that he's a part of our family here at YSN. And don't forget, you can too. You can join the family. Just head over to ysnlive.com and just submit your name. If you have interest of becoming one of our reporters or beat reporters or just want to be part of the team, join us at over at ysnlive.com and get started today, or just send us a message or an email to me. It's dj.yokley, YOKLEY at ysnlive.com. And we're always taking great people to help shine a light on our great programs, as we talked about in the first half hour. All right, so why are sports, and I had a lot of time to think about this on the plane, why, when everything was shut down, think back to COVID, right? When everything shut down, the one thing that came back first was sports. It was sports. Think about it. They shut down the NBA, they shut down the NHL, they shut down MLB, they shut down everything across college baseball, high school baseball, high school sports, college sports, name it. They shut it down. But the first thing to come back was sports. Why is that? Because we need it. We need sports. We need competition. We need entertainment. CSI Miami doesn't do it. Sports is natural entertainment. It's natural competition. It just hits so many boxes on the way down. So why do we involve our kids in sports? Why do we get so much influence in our daily lives from sports? I'll tell you, because sports is I would argue, next to religion and family, sports is the most influential part of our culture. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. And then explain to me why, when everything gets shut down, sports is the first to come back. Before church even. Think about that. Before you could congregate in churches, You could congregate in stadiums, 2 by 2, just like in the Bible. But you can congregate nonetheless. What is it about sports that makes it so important in our culture? There's a competition standpoint, right? You want everybody's the sports betting, number one, the biggest moneymaker, I think, in the country, arguably. The way that you can get your endorphins going by exercising, make yourself feel better, whether it's competing or not, you're competing against yourself in one form or fashion. So much that we do in our daily lives revolves around sports. And you don't really think about it until you think about it. And that sounds stupid, but like, it's become such of our daily routine that we don't even notice it anymore. I remember when people thought, almost a Ron Burgundy style, when CNNSI, that's like archaic. ESPN and CNNSI. CNNSI was the first 24/7 around the clock, basically news channel for sports. And it was all news and all highlights. And I remember watching that as a 7th grader religiously. Like, could not turn it off. That's where my shift happened. ESPN just started creating channel after channel after channel, got to about 8, the Ocho. And there's something for you on every single channel. So I'm interested. Why is sports so important for you? Let's check this out real quick. Sorrell's got some chiming in to do. Our little guys, Little League, are chomping to play also our little dogs. Yep, it's me and old Grandpa Cope. Well, thanks, Grandpa Cope. We appreciate you chiming in. Make sure those little dogs get out on the field. Little doggies. Robbie. Hey, DJ. Just wanted to say my family and love everything about YSN. Question for you. Why do you think, who do you think is a dark horse team to make a run of the tournament, both baseball and softball? Robbie, thank you for chiming in. We appreciate you. Dark horse teams. See, I hate to do the dark horse thing because there's so many different. I feel like if you give a team a dark horse moniker, that you're showing them a little bit of disrespect. So I'm going to go and stay with me here. I'm going to go underrated is the word I'm going to use here. Underrated. And I'm going to give you a few in baseball and softball. And I'm not doing this to be politically correct. I'm doing this because I think when we have 56 teams back on this wall over here, you've earned the right to have a few teams that you think could shake things up a little bit. I really think, I mean, you look at the favorites that we've talked about and some that we haven't, but you know them, outside of the top 10. Can we do that? Is that fair? Outside of the top 10. I like Champion in baseball as an underdog. I think they've got a lot of talent. I think they're putting it together probably slower than Coach Barker wanted to or expected to. I know they took one on the chin in Newton Falls that they really didn't like and the voters didn't like. But I think that they're just kind of hovering around and waiting. And as the weather and temperature warms up, I think that Champion bats are going to explode. They've got a great offensive, just outstanding lineup from 1 to 9, and their coaching staff is unlike any other in the fact that they know baseball. They've forgotten more baseball than some of the coaches in our area will ever know. So I'm going to take Champion on that. One team I'm going to take from the top 10 that I still don't think gets enough respect is Crestview. Crestview baseball, has been a staple in Columbiana County for longer than I have played. And I think just because they never really were able to crack the code on the tournament, people don't give them a whole lot of respect. But I would argue that Crestview is going to be there. I think they're going to make some upsets. They remind me of the Columbiana team that had Chase Franken on it. What was that? 2018 when Chase threw the was it a one-hitter against Canton Central Catholic? This Crestview team reminds me a ton of that. And I know it's not good to kind of cross swords with Crestview and Columbiana, but they remind me a lot. They've got a good staff, and you just wish that there were a couple of those guys over the last 2 or 3 years that could have had another year of eligibility so they could enjoy some of the fruits of their labor this year. Corey's doing a phenomenal job. Again, another great coaching staff they have out at Crestview, and tip of the cap to them. Columbiana, I talked to Ryan Wolf today. Columbiana is a team that is just not even hitting their stride yet, and they're winning some tough games. They've got some really, really young talent on that team. Coach Wolf knows exactly what to do with them. Seemingly every play, he knows the strengths and weaknesses of all of his players. Columbiana could shake things up. I know I told you I was going to stay off the top 10, but here I am. You know what? And this is a homer pick. This is a straight up homer pick. I have been so proud and so excited to see what Heartland Christian has been doing, and East Palestine are doing. East Palestine, I mean, you look at what across the board in sports, and people make their jokes, and East Palestine, are they going to win a game all year? Baseball team's not doing too daggone bad. Neither is the softball team. Track's not looking too rough either. They got one of the best runners in the entire state. I'm so proud of this Bulldog team for looking in everybody's face that's laughing at whatever program it might be. And the baseball program is taking it personal. The baseball program, led by Coach Sattler, Aaron Walker, Doug Walker, they are taking it to the extreme, and they're saying, laugh all you want. We're going to make you wonder about us this year, make you think about us next year, and make you want to be us the following year. Mark my words, Bulldog baseball is coming back, and I am excited. I am thrilled because under the tutelage of a guy that was in the show, another guy that had a cup of coffee in the show and is one of the best pitchers to ever come out of this particular school in this particular area, watch out. Watch out. Heartland Christian, I said, they are doing some special stuff over there. And they're doing it under the radar. They're doing it exactly as Heartland Christian does everything else. They don't care who watches. They just want to make sure that you are aware of their mission. And their mission is winning ball games and having high character kids on that bench, on that field. I give credit where credit is due. They do things different over at Heartland Christian, and it works for them because those kids come out. They are some of the nicest young men and women that you will meet, and they just continue churning out good kids that love playing the sport, that love wearing that HC, that love to be Lions. So there's a few of them. I mean, there's a lot that I probably could go on and on about and just rant and rave about. Cardinal Mooney's another team that I'm really high on right now. They've got a lot of talent, a lot of young talent. They've got a new coach, and it's just, and they played at a beautiful facility. They are going to, I still think they're going to be there when it's all said and done. They got a good backing, and they've got great foundation and tradition of winning in the sport. So it's going to be interesting. Gonna be interesting. Softball, there's so many. There's so many different softball teams that have been really kind of keep your eye on. Anthony's way better at this than I am. West Branch is a team I really like. Obviously, Austintown Fitch and South Range. My Bulldogs, again, are from East Palestine. Lakeview. If I had to circle one and hate to even say the word, gun to my head, Lakeview is a team that I would call an underdog and a dark horse. I like what Coach Schick is doing out there. He's got a couple of seniors that are just outstanding. Hubbard's another team that is really the NE8 softball circuit is arguably one of the biggest gauntlets in the state. It's similar to football, right? Similar to football. The NE8 softball circuit is one of the most competitive conferences that you're going to see in the Buckeye State, that you're going to see in the Tri-County or Tri-State area. I really think that if you can get out to an NE8 game at all, you need to get out there. But here's my pick on a team that doesn't get any love, hardly at all. They put their hard hat on. They go to work. They roll up their sleeves. They put in their time. And then they walk away with dubs. And just like in baseball, it's going to be the Crestview Lady Rebels. My goodness. My goodness. Greg Eskra is doing a phenomenal job with that program out there down in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee right now. Competitive as all get out. Feel like they're playing the underdog role a little bit, right? Everybody's looking at South Range and everybody's looking at Poland and Canfield and Austintown, and nobody's looking at Columbiana County and sneaking up on them as the Rebels of Crestview. Lady Rebels just doing what the Lady Rebels do. They go on the field, they turn it up, they crank it up, and they beat teams. There's an underdog for you. Keep an eye on the Crestview Lady Rebels. That's all I'm saying. I think they're going to be there. Lakeview as well is a team that they can shake things up a little bit. And Hubbard, I think of those three teams, Hubbard with Haley Croyle has the chance to do the most damage. Listen, I like the pitching staffs on the other two as well. I think Hubbard somehow, some way will find a path of least resistance compared to those other two teams. Crestview always somehow gets mucked in the tournament, right? They always get a little bit sticky in sticky situations in the tournament. And I think they've got the horses to get them out this year. But the question is going to be, Greg has put together a schedule that is constantly facing off against talent, that is divisions larger than they are. Can they get out of Dodge this year? Or is it a situation where they're going to be, we've talked about it, are they going to be beat up? Are they going to be tired? Because I'm a huge advocate. Love when schools play up. Love it. We're in JFK. Love it. But there is a price. It's like the $1 Million Man said, everything has a price. There's a price. When you play bigger teams that have bigger rosters, more depth, there's an opportunity, there's a chance that you're going to wear yourselves down a little bit. That's why these coaches kind of like to have a little bit of ease on the back end of their schedule heading into the tournament. Now, we can't make it official yet, but there is a great scrimmage that we heard of that is going to happen right before the tournaments or right after the regular season. It might be the first ever scrimmage that we broadcast because it's that big. That big. And it might be a rematch of something we've already seen here on the network. So keep that in mind. All right. It is time to take you to a lovely place in North Lima. And let's light up the world with a little bit of Joe Dickey Electric. What's your spark? It's a Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark presented by our friends over at DickeyElectric.com. Visit them there or head over to their campus in North Lima and tell all the good people over there that we said hello and you absolutely love the Power Hour. And you're just thankful that they are huge sponsors here. Eric and the team, thank you so much as always. All right. What's my spark today? So for those of you who know, and for those of you who don't, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I have, thanks to Brian Tolnar, one of the nicest golf bags in existence. I have some of the nicest clubs that any person can have. All these Callaway. Brian Tolnar is my guy. I said, I need clubs. My wife's getting a floor. We need, I need this. For business, to frustrate myself, whatever. So I get these awesome clubs. I get this awesome bag from Brian. I take it down. Well, I shouldn't say I take it down. I give it to Don Farron, the athletic director at South Range, who takes it down for us. We do a little bit of golfing during the slower times after the games or between games. And the first morning we went was on Sunday morning, and I felt like I played really well, like Tiger mode. I felt like I was on fire. Like I'm finally understanding the game of golf. Played on this beautiful course. It's a little bit chilly, but it warmed up. I wasn't going to complain because we were in Myrtle Beach. Nobody else was. But then we get to the second round, and I can't remember what day we played on, so please forgive me. And I couldn't have been a worse golfer. I could not have been more awful if I tried, to the point where I didn't want to finish the round. And this was the most beautiful 18 I've ever played. Like I've ever played on. I didn't play well. I played on. The winds, I'm not a huge driver in the first place, but the winds were like right in your face. So, and there was water all over the place. Water for miles, it felt like. The ball count was probably, I would say, and this is not an exaggeration, I probably lost 25 golf balls on a round of 18. Gone. See you later. Because when I picked up my club or my bag at the end of the day, gone. Like so much lighter than it was when I sat it down. The whole point of this is I stink at golf. I'm going to be getting more lessons and more opportunities through Brian Tolnar, who I think is one of the best out there, if not the best, to be able to take golf lessons from. If you're looking to take my money, there's your best shot, is in golf. But I'm still going to have better clubs than you, and I'm still going to have a better bag because it's all about the show when it's all about the dough, right? Thank you for tuning in on this edition of Power Hour. It's good to be back. It's good to be home. Looking forward to this whole week. Hopefully the weather cooperates. We can get some games in. Stay up to date on ysnlive.com for tonight's matchup again with Canfield. Hopefully they can get it in. And don't forget, while we put this up, hang tight. If you want some YSN gear, check this out. Gear up for the spring. You can get 20% off if you shop now. Just head over to ysnlive.com, click on shop, and then put in the code APR Showers. That's use code APR Showers for 20% off your entire order. That's going to do it for the YSN Power Hour. We'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, Power Rankings come out tonight. Keep an eye on that. We'll see you tomorrow 3 to 4 to talk about all that and more on your favorite show, your favorite hour of the day, YSN Power Hour. Peace. YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network. For stories, stats, and more, go to